The One Piece manga just showed Monkey D. Garp use his actual power for the very first time, and it is even more insane than any of us could have expected. And by that I mean he literally destroys an entire city with a single gigantic fist of what does seem to be advanced Conqueror's Haki, as he and the marine organization SWORD are about to clash with Blackbeard's Titanic Captains. Garp's goal here is of course to rescue Marine Captain Kobe from the Blackbeard pirates, and the outcome of this fight will have massive implications for the future of the story, as we will be discussing in this video. We also learn the exact remaining devil fruits for the rest of Blackbeard's Titanic Captains, and that for some reason Blackbeard wants his pirate island to be officially recognized as a kingdom by the world government, which makes me wonder if he has an even more crazy plot in mind than all of his actions leading up to Marineford. And on top of that, we learn the true secrets of SWORD that we have been dying to know since we first learned about this insane group of the Marines. Starting off with Blackbeard and his crew. Now in chapter 1079, Shanks' crew confirmed that Blackbeard was not on Pirate Island, and that turned out to be exactly the case. While we do see several of his Titanic captains on Pirate Island, Blackbeard himself is absent, so if he isn't here right now, there are a few remaining possibilities for his current location. First of all, he could still be fighting Law, as we saw back in chapter 1063, though the exact timelines here are kind of unclear. It is certainly possible that Blackbeard could still be in the massive clash against the Heart Pirates, though seeing how easily Shanks single-handedly destroyed Kid and his crew, Law will need a minor miracle to get out of this situation alive. On the other hand, this option does make some sense because none of the Titanic captains that we see in this chapter were with Blackbeard during this fight with Law. However, the other and even more frightening option is that Blackbeard could be on his way to Egghead Island, as we have discussed in full detail in the last chapter review. And if this is true, Garp could chase after him once he's finished here on Pirate Island, and this could start the most epic war since Marineford, as we'll discuss in just a second. But first, during this chapter, we also get a mind-blowing flashback to when Blackbeard first had kidnapped Kobe. And in the scene, we learn that Blackbeard apparently wants to use Kobe as a bargaining chip against the government. What for, you ask? Well, in an insane reveal in my opinion, we're being told that Blackbeard wants Pirate Islands to become an official kingdom as part of the world government. Like, what? So Blackbeard doesn't want to take down the world government, instead he wants to join them? Okay, so I mean, on the surface, this is such a strange desire for Blackbeard. In One Piece, we've seen pirates claiming territory from other pirates, like when Luffy declared Fishman Island under his control, or Blackbeard taking over large parts of Whitebeard's former territory. I mean, we've even seen citizens rebelling against the world government, but we've never seen a pirate wanting to officially join the world's government as a kingdom. Really, the closest that we've ever seen to this is when a pirate becomes a warlord of the sea and the world government basically lets them do whatever they want on that island. For example, the warlord's Crocodile and Doflamingo that essentially took over their very own islands without anyone interfering. But why does Blackbeard care about joining them, especially after he already betrayed them once? Well, if we look back at the last time that Blackbeard was allied with the world government, we can get some idea of what he might be after here. Before the time skip, Blackbeard joined the warlords with the specific goal of sneaking into Impel Down and then recruiting the strongest prisoners there to his crew. Now, he was obviously successful with this, and that even led him to stealing Whitebeard's legendary devil fruit after the war at Marineford. When you really think about it, the entire war, this entire crazy sequence of events never occurs in the first place if Blackbeard hadn't wanted to join the warlords. And so if Blackbeard wants to join the world government again, we have to believe that he has some sort of ulterior motive that he can only accomplish as part of the world government. What that goal is? Well, it could be the same goal as he had since the time skip, gathering the ultimate devil fruits. And this theory in particular gets even more mind-blowing when we think about what Blackbeard's inspiration, Rox D. 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐 wanted during the Battle of God Valley. Now you will know that Rox was a pirate 40 years ago who almost conquered the world with his ridiculously overpowered crew, and there is a strong evidence that Rox was after the world noble's devil fruits when he famously attacked the island God Valley. Now, after the battle and Rox's death, the island was wiped completely off the map, so we have to assume that he did not get what he wanted at that point. But what if Rox's target on God Valley was then moved to Merijoa and Blackbeard knows about this, so he wants to join the world's government to once again gain access and steal the world government's most sacred treasure? How likely is that? Now, even though we learn in this chapter that the world's government probably won't trade anything to get Kobe back, it is still crazy to think that Blackbeard is even attempting to join him once again. But moving on, another insane reveal from this chapter is that the former Marine Admiral 𝙻𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚗, who now works under Blackbeard, has knowledge about the secret marine organization 𝚬𝚐𝚐. Now you might remember that we first learned about this secret group in chapter 956 when Kobe and the undercover marine pirate 𝚬𝚐𝚐 are sharing information during Wano. We then later meet more of the members in chapter 1061, and we are being told in this chapter that 𝚬𝚐𝚐's members are actually Marines who have officially resigned so that they're not technically Marines anymore. Which at first sounds bad, but it also means that they can attack and act without the active approval of the world government or the Gorosei, but the Marines also won't take responsibility for their individual actions, so they can obviously stay secret. And while we don't know the actual true objective of this group, since 𝚬𝚐𝚐 knows about them, does this mean that all the admirals are aware of this secret underground organization within the Marines? Or did he alone used to be a member of 𝚬𝚐 as well? And the most exciting possibility is, of course, that he is still a member of 𝚬𝚐 right now. I mean, we've always wondered why 𝚬𝚐𝚐 would go from being a Marine Admiral to working with the single most evil pirates in the world, and so it would only make sense if he was actually an undercover agent of 𝚬𝚐 all along. And we already know that this is possible because 𝚬𝚐𝚐 not only became a member of the worst generation, but also one of the higher-ups in Kaido's crew, even though he was a Marine all along, though now I guess we know that he was actually resigned at this point officially. And if 𝚬𝚐𝚐 should actually turn out to be an active member of 𝚬𝚐, I cannot wait to learn what he might do in the future. If he's coming to Egghead, will he side with the Blackbeard pirates, or will he betray Blackbeard to help the world government, or maybe even Luffy? Or if he should actually turn out to be on Pirate Island right now, could he help Garp to rescue Kobe and take down some of Blackbeard's Titanic captains himself? And yeah, we're gonna discuss this a little bit more in just a second. But speaking of those Titanic captains, it seems that the Blackbeard pirates truly have collected some ridiculously overpowered devil fruits, and in this chapter we finally learned the new and remaining powers of the rest of the Titanic captains. First we have Alvaro Pizarro, who has the so-called island fruit, which apparently lets him fuse with the island and control it, similar to this guy who could merge with stone. But I do wonder if this power is specific to Pirate Island or if it would work on any island that he's on. And if it is any island, that is truly a ridiculously powerful devil fruit in a world almost completely made up of either water or islands. Also, it does make me wonder, like, when does something stop being an island? When does it become land or a continent? Like, I mean, Australia is technically an island, so it'd be interesting to know how that works. Another of the Titanic captains, Vasco Shot, ate the liquor fruit, which is not only kind of unsurprising, but it also seems to let him manipulate liquor. Now in this chapter, he creates a liquor bubble and uses it to fly, but I wonder what other alcohol-based powers this could possibly give him. For example, could he poison people or get them drunk by attacking them with his liquor? Or Can he light his liquor on fire? I mean, I feel like Zoro might really approve of that fruit. And we also get confirmation of San Juan Wolf's devil fruit finally, and while we've already seen him grow big enough to walk on the seafloor, he's confirmed now to have eaten the enlarge fruit, which allows him to change his body size at will. And while we still don't know the exact powers of this guy's devil fruit, we now do know all of the powers for Blackbeard's Titanic Captains, which makes this a perfect time to start thinking a little bit about the matchups between the Straw Hats and the Blackbeard pirates when they eventually will have their epic clash. Now, some matchups are already pretty much set, like Luffy versus Blackbeard, Usopp versus Van Augur, but other matchups like who will Sanji fight are definitely more interesting to think about. And based on this, I'm actually gonna make a full prediction video on this upcoming fight, so make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on that one. But now let's get to the most interesting part of this entire chapter. And when I say interesting, I really mean mind-blowing. Now, in a recent What If video I made about Luffy possibly being captured by the Marines, Garp actually didn't do too well against the Blackbeard pirates, but in this chapter, he is an overpowered monster on a mission to rescue his very favorite student. We already knew that Garp mostly fights with his massive punches and overwhelming haki, and upon his arrival, he delivers a supremely massive punch which destroys the entire town below the giant skull. What? And the display of raw destructive power here is one of the most insane attacks and panels that we've seen in the entire story, rivaling Kaido and Big Mom's combined attack during Wano. I mean, just look at this beautiful panel. He literally drops a bomb with his fist. Not only that, we also see streaks of lightning coming from this attack, which is usually the result of Conqueror's haki, so it does seem to suggest that Garp, just like his grandson Luffy, has the advanced Conqueror's haki powers. Which does make complete sense since he was known as the rival of the former Pirate King Goldie Roger and the former strongest man in the world, Whitebeard. And while we've been told throughout the story that Garp was basically their equal, for a good reason, many people have been a little bit doubtful because we've basically never really seen Garp display any top tier fighting power, so it was always a little bit hard to believe that he was actually as strong as these two absolutely legendary figures. But damn, does this seem true now? I think it is safe to say that even in his advanced age, Garp has to be one of the strongest characters alive in the story right now. And if you remember back during Marineford, Garp wanted to kill the Admiral Akainu after he killed Ace. Now, we never really knew if Garp could actually kill Akainu or if he even had a realistic chance of injuring him, but looking at this one panel at the end of the chapter proves to me that Akainu is kind of lucky that Garp was held down by Sengoku during that day. And beside Garp's power, there are two super important things that I'm desperate to know based on the outcome of this battle. First, Eiichiro Oda, the author of One Piece, has been increasing the importance of haki ever since the time skip, and this was emphasized even more during the climax of Wano when Kaido told us that devil fruit powers alone are not enough to conquer the seas, and that haki is the only thing that can truly overcome the greatest hurdles. Now, this was even shown to us in chapter 1079 when Shanks, who has no devil fruit but absurdly strong haki, absolutely devastated Kid and his entire crew, who mostly fully relies on his devil fruit powers. But that now leads us to this incredibly interesting battle between Garp and Blackbeard's crew. That's because Blackbeard's crew heavily relies on their devil fruit powers, so what will happen when a top of the tier haki user like Garp comes up against all of those devil fruit users at the same time? Will Oda make a statement and have Garp come out on top here, showing that no matter what, the strongest haki wins? Or can even a top tier haki user be overwhelmed by truly overpowered devil fruits? I am dying to know the answer to this question because it will have major effects on the entire story and the eventual clashes with the Straw Hats, Blackbeard, and even Shanks' crew. And the second most important thing that I need to know from this battle on Pirate Island here is how will the outcome of this fight affect the immediate close future of the story right now? Because obviously the worst outcome for Luffy, but possibly the most exciting for fans, is that Garp is killed or captured during this battle. Even though we see his massive ridiculous power, we never truly know how fights like this could possibly go or what sort of trickery Blackbeard's crew might end up using here. And losing his grandfather would surely make Luffy rampage just like when Ace died. Now, personally, I cannot imagine that Luffy would let this go unavenged, so he might go straight for Blackbeard, even if Blackbeard isn't already coming to Egghead Islands. And what would the Marines possibly try to avenge Garp, or would they simply let his death go? However, an even more incredibly exciting option is if Garp is captured alive. This would lead to a similar situation where Luffy will still try to save him. And another possibility is that Kuzan, actually still a sword agent, could free Garp just like when he let Robin go when she was a child. But again, the real question is, what would the Marines do? Because while Garp is the hero of the Marines, he also openly hates the Celestial Dragons and has never taken any orders from them. So they might see this as a chance to be rid of Garp and order the Marines not to come and save him. And that could have huge, unexpected consequences for the world nobles, because the Marines themselves are not such a bad organization through and through. In general, they do try to keep the peace and protect innocent people, but it is mostly the world nobles that are total scumbags and do the worst things to the people of the world. So what if refusing to come save Garp causes the Marines themselves to rebel against the world nobles? And while Garp's death or capture could definitely change the world, we also have to consider the very likely option of Garp completely devastating Blackbeard's pirates or simply rescuing Kobe and then leaving. Remember that Garp's main goal is to bring Kobe back safely, so if they somehow manage to save Kobe and just escape, then Garp would probably consider that a victory because of the statement that he gives about Kobe before his massive punch. That's because Garp tells us that Kobe is his beloved apprentice and that he believes that Kobe is the future of the Marines. And that, coincidentally, perfectly aligns with Kobe's own goal of one day becoming a Marine Admiral. So we do have to wonder, how far would Garp go to make sure that Kobe escapes and continues to pursue his own dream? Would he sacrifice himself if necessary? I'm getting strong Whitebeard vibes from this setup right here, so honestly, starting to sweat a little bit that Garp might sacrifice himself to save his favorite pupil here. But whichever of those insane options turn out to be true, if Kobe's able to get away, he could reveal many of Blackbeard's darkest secrets. And that is because Kobe has been captured for a couple of weeks now, so he could have learned some of these crazy secrets with his overpowered observation haki, or just by being around Blackbeard and Pirate Island itself. And on top of that, in this chapter we see that Kobe has actually already escaped and is trying to free the former warlord Gecko Moria from deep within the island. So what if while running around the island, Kobe does find some secret information about Blackbeard? Maybe a log journal, some secret plans, or even a shrine to Rox Dizabek? And can you imagine if the world government were to find out about Blackbeard's true motivations or the secrets of how he can eat multiple devil fruits? What if the government started creating devil fruit users with multiple powers? Also, if Kobe does actually manage to free Moria and they all escape Pirate Island, this will reintroduce one of the most insane devil fruit powers back into the story as well. In case you forgot, Moria ate the shadow fruit, allowing him to take people's shadows and create zombies from corpses. Now personally, I've always thought that these powers could be used to revive some of the most powerful pirates in One Piece. For example, what if Moria got a hold of Whitebeard's body? Or Rogers, and there is even this frozen vault back in Marijoa that could contain the bodies of other ridiculously strong fighters from the past, including Joy Boy from the Void Century. And so if Moria had access to any of these bodies, he could create a super strong army to clash with the other incredibly powerful pirates during the final war. Which does make this right now the most exciting time to be a One Piece fan, because after so many years, we finally get to see the most insanely strong fighters actually coming together for the final race to find the One Piece, and the strongest fighter of them all is undoubtedly Red Hair Shanks. And if you want to know why that is very true, well, you can watch that video right here. Thanks for watching.